Hi there. Welcome back for the next section of our story. We have been talking a lot about Europeans and Native Americans, and now we are up to the next part of this very long story. I am on page 31 of my book, and you can go ahead and glue down the pages not the pages, the pieces that we're going to need. And in this one, you need this story, and then, of course, our pocket with the cards in there. I am not going to use my annotation piece this time. I think I can remember it. But if you need yours, by all means, bring it in there. And then I'll use my cards in just a minute. So first, let's read. In 1607, English settlers started a colony called Jamestown in America. They sailed from England to Virginia on a big ship called the Susan Constant. The settlers wanted to find gold and other treasures. They faced many challenges. The land was unfamiliar, and they had to build houses and find food. They also met Native American tribes, like the Powhatan. Sometimes they traded with them, but other times they had fights. Despite these difficulties, Jamestown grew and became the first permanent English settlement in America. It was an important place where people from England started new lives and learned to live in this new land. So before we tackle the actual cards, let's put in some places here for notes. I want to tell you a little bit more information about the Powhatan. And I'm checking my spelling. And let's put that in a box, just so we can keep it a little bit more organized. And down at the bottom, down here on the very bottom, did we already talk about Jamestown? Let me look back to, if we've already done this, we've already done it, so we don't have to do that again. I'll leave that out. Let's down here put challenges. Challenges are difficulties, things that are hard. Challenges of colony life. And our story told us a little bit about that. What are some of the things that the colonists had to deal with that were tough, that were things they had to learn to do in order to survive? So we'll look at some of those. I do want to tell you one thing about Jamestown that I haven't already. So let's make a place down here for a note about Jamestown. And I think this time I'm going to go ahead and do my notes first, and then we'll do the cards. You really can do them in either order. It doesn't matter. But while I'm down here, let me just tell you that Jamestown was named for King James I of England. So you'll notice that about the English settlers. They came and they named places in America after places in England. And Jamestown was named for the King of England, James I. So what were some of the challenges mentioned in this passage? As we annotate this passage, let's keep that in the back of our minds. So let's start with people. And people for my annotation are purple. So we have settlers. Let me zoom in just a little bit and I'll make this a little bigger. Settlers. Again, there's the word settlers. I'm always interested in words that are repeated. There are the Native Americans again. Powhatan is a tribe. It's a particular group of Native Americans. So let's count them as people. Even though it's a whole group of people, we can still count it. People from England, those would count as people. Those are the settlers that we keep hearing about in this story. Okay. Let's look for places. Those are going to be green for me. Jamestown is a place. America is a place. England is a place. Virginia is a place. Jamestown, it's mentioned again. America is mentioned again. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I think that's everything. Okay, I see some words in italics this time, so I'm going to grab orange. That's Susan Constant. That's the name of the ship that brought the settlers to Jamestown. Let's look for some vocabulary words. What am I forgetting? We did places, we did italics, we did people. I guess vocabulary is what I'm thinking of. I do see a vocabulary word right here. Colony. And it's possible that we'll see it again. I see the word native. That one has been a big vocabulary for us. It's already purple, but let's circle the word native. I should have made settlers be a vocabulary word, but I didn't, and that's okay. All right, so let's talk about the Powhatan. They are a tribe of Native Americans, and let me give you the pronunciation, because this is a tough word. It is pronounced pow, sorry, that's a G, not a schwa, tan. So this is an A. Powhatan. Powhatan were Native Americans. And let's use that word tribe just for practice. Native American tribe who lived in the Northeast woodlands. And we've talked about directions on a map, when to capitalize those directions. Northeast woodlands. So they were people who were very comfortable in a forest. You may have heard of one of the famous Powhatans. Have you heard of Pocahontas? She was a Powhatan princess. Pocahontas. And I'm going to check. I believe I've misspelled this. I don't know if this is an A or an O, so let's check. And to do that, I'm just going to Google. I won't do it on the computer there because I don't want to. But I'm betting that I misspelled that, and I sure did. That is not an A. That should be an O. So let me try that again. I'm sorry if I made you misspell it too. Capital P, O, C, A, H, O, N, T, A, S. Pocahontas. Literally, it sounds exactly like it looks. Pocahontas. If you're in doubt, check your spelling, and that way the next time you will know how to spell it. On the other side of this page, let's think about the explorers. And now we're not really talking about explorers, we're talking about settlers. Remember, the explorers came and went home. They bought things or they took things and they went back to Europe. But the settlers came here to stay. So that was a big difference. Some of them to find gold. They wanted to come to find gold. So the explorers were going home with all these stories about America, and it made people want to come to find gold and treasures. A little bit later than Jamestown, in 1620, when the Pilgrims come, they will be coming for freedom. Not only religious freedom, but freedom from debts. That's how the Georgia colony was started. A lot of times in countries that had colonies, they would send their prisoners to other colonies to get them out of the mother country. England sent a lot of prisoners to Australia. England colonized the whole world, just about. So they would send their prisoners to colonies. So the settlers came for a lot of different reasons. It's important to know that. All right, let's look at some challenges of colony life. What are some of the things that this story told us about challenges? It even used the word challenge. So I'm going to use blue and come back in and highlight some of these. Some events that were challenging. The land was unfamiliar. That was one thing. They had to build houses. They needed shelter. They had to find food. Sometimes they got along with the Native Americans, but sometimes they had fights with the Native Americans. So it was a very hard life for them in the beginning. One of the challenges, the land was unfamiliar. They knew how to farm in their native countries, but they didn't know how to farm in America. And they needed food. Food was scarce. They didn't really know how to grow their own. They learned how to fish and hunt, but they had a hard time finding food. They needed houses. They needed shelter. And fighting with the natives. The natives were not always friendly. The Powhatan tribe was pretty friendly most of the time, but other tribes were not. And so there were challenges of getting along with their neighbors. You know I'm going to do a timeline. So let's squeeze that in right here. This helps us see sequence. The arrows are on there because time keeps passing in either direction. We are just looking at a section of time. And this time I'm going to put 1, 2, and way over here, let's put today. 2024 is current day. What happened in 1492? Columbus sailed the ocean blue. So Columbus came to America. In 1607, the English settled in Jamestown. And just for review, what happened between 1492 and 1607? It wasn't settlers as much as it was European explorers coming to America. So we can put that in here between those dots. Okay, let's take a look at our cards. I like to start with keywords. And I'm going to pull mine here just to refer to it. What are some of the words that were mentioned more than once? Jamestown. Named for King James. Jamestown was a colony, so its citizens were British, but they were living from the mother country in Virginia. That would later become a state. That is in America. We have settlers now, not explorers. These are people who came to stay. They were from England. Dates are always important. Italicized words are important. And what do I do if I can't write in italics? I can underline for the same effect. Okay, so moving on to our topic. In 5 or fewer words, tell what the story is mostly about. This one is not about Columbus. It's not about explorers. It's really not about the Native Americans. It's about English settlers. So there are 2 of my 5 words. Come to, let's go ahead and say Jamestown. And there is my title. Let's come over here and put that right here. Capitalize the first word. And the last word when you get there. You capitalize it because it's the last word, but also because it's the name of a specific place. English settlers come to Jamestown. So that's the gist of this main idea sentence. But I am going to include some of the difficult things they faced. So let's say that English settlers this is a sentence, so I'm not going to capitalize every word unless it's supposed to be capitalized. Came to Jamestown. when in, what's the date? 1607, and faced many challenges. It wasn't an easy trip. It wasn't an easy settlement. But they came and they stayed, and they were the first permanent British settlement in America. So you can stack those cards back up and put them in the pocket. And I will get rid of these because we're going to need page 30 for something else. And I will see you in the next video.